your home with BuildAid on Mix 93.8. Proudly brought to you by AfriSam. AfriSam, creating concrete possibilities.
BuildAid on Mix 93.8 FM. Good evening. My name's Graham Alexander. In the studio with me is Kay and Simon on the desk. I'm going to be chatting to Victor Buganon. Victor heads up AfriSam's marketing. They're also our sponsor, so we're also going to have some fun and a chat about cement and related things. Kay.
Well, we're all looking forward to party time now because this is pretty much the last day of the year for a lot of people. So I'm tonight looking for a band. They're an Australian band who played their very first concert on New Year's Eve in 1973. There are two brothers in the band who were actually born in Scotland before they moved to Oz. You keep pointing at me. I'm wondering if you know the answer. Okay,
I never know the answer.
No, okay, so I'm going to give you one clue. This band is pretty electrifying. If you know which band we're talking about, send us an SMS on 41348.
So, Kay, a year's gone by. It's our last show for this year, but 7 years have also gone by doing this show, and it's been such fun.
It has been a bit of a blast.
Our guest this evening is Victor Buganon, heads up marketing at AfriSam. Victor, thanks so much for coming and chat to us.
It's an absolute pleasure, Graham. Thank you for inviting me.
It's also appropriate. It's our last show, and you guys have sponsored us this whole year, got involved with ice cream projects and so on. So it's a bit of a thank you too, but we also want to find out a bit about cement. Just on the ice cream thing, how much feedback did you guys get?
Well, the ice cream thing was just a little bit different, a little bit interesting, and a little off the wall. And yeah, we had feedback from various places. We distributed these at the Totally Concrete show. We distributed these things at some of our sponsorships that we did. And it was really a bit of fun in a fairly serious environment. So for us, it was good.
These were ice creams that were given away on this show, and as Victor said, at the Concrete show. And I think between the two, we've given away more than 3,000 ice creams. But they were put in little tubs, and they were called concrete, mortar, screed, and plaster. And Kay, they were manufactured by
La Venezia. You've got to go out there. They're in Multistrift, and it's actually a really fun day out. And yeah, ice cream.
Proper Italian ice cream. So we had a lot of fun with a cement company making ice cream. Victor, something that we focused on the show quite recently and quite a lot with architects and particularly one guest, Stephen Nasu, was the urbanization of Johannesburg in particular. I mean, the urbanization of cities throughout the world is on the up, particularly in Africa, and Joburg is one of those cities. But in the process, we got to meet a lot of really fascinating people, like Stephen, who wrote the book or the strategy called Joburg 2040. Him and his team put the strategy together with regard to almost everything in the planning of Joburg over the next 25 years or so. Meeting all the architects, it's always mentioned the AfriSam Sire Sustainability Awards. Now, that's an award, I don't know how long you guys have been doing it, but it's an award to architects on sustainability. Give me a little bit of background to this.
Okay, so the AfriSam, the full name is the AfriSam Sire Award for Sustainable Architecture, and we recently added two more words, an and an innovation. So we've added the innovation component to that, but it's something that we inherited from our sort of predecessors, from the Wholesome Group, which is an international group, who had been working in the sustainability space for many years. And we saw the value in continuing an award like that in a much more indigenous Southern African form. And we target innovative projects that are sustainability based. These are projects in the built environment. They're research projects. They projects that focus on community upliftment, and then obviously we've recently added the innovation component to it. So we're really trying to. It's a platform that we we believe we are best suited to as a company. We are very strong in one of our values is planet, and for us the sustainability in the built environment is a big subject, and it's something that we pride ourselves on, and we believe that we need to give back to the industry in the process.
When we look at the Johannesburg context and the number of architects that we interviewed, we had 5 ladies in the studio, architects on the one show around Joburg and urbanization and so on. And the one thing that comes through is it's being done correctly. Now, one would expect that. You got professionals involved in the planning and so on, but it was more professional than I expected. There's no one taking chances or trying to cut corners. I'm sure we're going to bump into those types of organizations and so on. But in this planning and thinking phase, and even areas like Maboneng, Braamfontein, if you look at them as examples, I think Joburg's got a long way to go. And your sustainability awards, I want to come back after the break and chat to you about how that impacts on the future of professionals like architects. BuildAid on Mix. My name's Graham Alexander. I'm chatting to Victor Buganon. We're talking cement, building industry, awards, architects, and so on. Before the break, we were chatting about the sustainability awards, and I suppose it's not just about handing out prizes. You guys there's a bigger picture. In sport, we get awards. Why are we awarded? Why do we play sport? And so on. It's the growth and the betterment of an environment. And architecture, if we look at it in Johannesburg, particularly with the backdrop of urbanization, there 4 million people are going to move into Joburg before 2020. We need these professionals. And hopefully you guys are playing a part in developing them.
Yeah, Graham, I think from our perspective, we believe that cement is not only a commodity, that it has a higher purpose. And you'll find that once you've connected the dots with the architects, the property developers, the whole professional aspect of the construction industry, it's very important for us to recognize and grow a sustainable industry as a sort of key component of the industry, as a key ingredient in the construction process.
Sustainability is probably a term or a word that we could talk about for the next 2 hours, and what it means and what it doesn't mean. But let's not get too complicated. I think it's about making sure something lasts, if you want to put it into simple terms. So tell us a little bit about how the awards work. If you're an architect, you want to submit a piece of work or a building, how do you go about it?
So the process is run over a 2-year cycle. So we've just completed the 4th of those cycles. We started in 2009, if I'm correct. And basically, architects and or professionals involved with sustainable social upliftment programs, etc., can submit their projects by a certain date. It's normally we open up the entries in normally about October of the year. They submit their entries by, I think we close off in about March. We've got a really eminent panel of architects in most cases, from the president or the president-elect of SIA, the South African Institute of Architects, to a number of others. There's university professors and others, including our own representative, who then sit on a panel of judges. They then pre-vet the projects as they've come in. They shortlist them, and we literally fly this group of people around the country to the projects that have been selected or that meet the criteria, and they do in loco inspections of the projects, and from there they obviously make their decision. And it gets quite heated. They don't always agree, but it becomes a very thorough process.
You said the judges, you fly them around and so on. So this is quite an exercise that goes on over a period of a couple of years.
It goes over. It happens over 2 years in total. So from the end of the previous event to the awards of the second, it's a 2-year period. And we, as I say, we just completed the 4th round now. In October, we had the event down at the Zeitz Museum of Contemporary Art Africa in Cape Town at the V&A. And it's a building that we're also very involved with as AfriSam in the development and sponsorship of a new museum in Cape Town, which will be one of the the first and most interesting museums on the continent.
I want to come back and ask you a few more questions about that in a sec. When it comes to alternative building methods, we've seen panels and bricks that lay themselves, steel frame, which is more recognized, throughout the world, never mind South Africa. The question, and it's a difficult one, I know, Victor, but with cement, these are essentially could be competition, but you could also work with them. The foundations could be concrete, the panels could be made of fiber cement, and so on. But strategically, how do cement companies view this? And particularly in South Africa, where we're pretty much a brick and mortar industry.
Graham, I don't think I can speak for the industry, but certainly from an AfriSam perspective, we look at all these systems as healthy participants in the building industry. And in fact, our SIA Awards is an example of an award where we don't have an issue with the fact that some of these submissions could be a hemp building, for that matter, with no cement whatsoever, and it really is not relevant. It has to take, we're looking at it as a much bigger picture. It has to look at where the industry, where the world is going. We are just one producer of an ingredient in the construction process. And at the end of the day, it just happens to be the glue that binds most of these things. So effectively, I guess at the end of the day, we'll probably, or certainly for the foreseeable future, have a place to play in the construction industry in one form or another, whether it's foundations or whether it's the floor slab with a steel structure on top of it. One way or another, we're part of the game.
When it comes to who buys cement? It goes into bridges, it goes into roads, it goes into homes. Give us a sort of overview of your market segment.
Okay, so Graham, this is the boring question. After we come down from the Zeitz and the SIA Awards, etc. So just some of the quick numbers. About 50% of that 13 million tons of cement that we were speaking about a couple of moments ago goes through the retail channel. So that's your Cash Bulls, Builders Warehouse, BuildAid, Jack's Paint, etc., etc. About 50% of all cement made in this country goes through that channel in bags. The other 50% goes through the sort of more sophisticated channels, the beneficiated channels, either in ready mix, which is the concrete that you're seeing in concrete mixers. Otherwise, if when you were kids, you would have called them concrete mixers. They go through what we call the concrete product manufacturers. So these are people who make bricks and blocks and lintels, etc. They go through the civil industry, the construction and building industry, to one degree or another, and there's a bit of crossover between them. So the building industry to some extent would buy through the retailers, so it's not definitive, but at the end of the day, the bagged market is one. You would then get a construction site where the product is supplied in bulk, or it's supplied in what we call SEM bins, or mini silos, and so it's not as simple as that.
Okay. We're at that time of the year and at that time of the show when we need to say our thank yous and our goodbyes. But if I could start with you, Victor, and AfriSam, and we thank you for being our sponsor, and we're really proud to be associated with a company and people like you.
Well, thank you so much. We love getting involved with projects which further the industry, that perpetuate a professional industry. And so we're very proud to be involved with BuildAid and this particular show.
Thank you so much. And thanks to Kay, who does not only the show, but a lot of the background work and preparation and so on. And Simon looks after the desk and prepares the show with us and does all his stuff. And Simon, thank you. And thanks for being such a great architect.
He's so proud.
And well done for your place in the awards.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for the award, Victor. And it's not because I know you.
And thanks to Ian. He hasn't got a mic in front of him, but maybe you can shout out. Ian videos all the shows and edits them and helps us in the studio and so on. Thanks so much to Ian. But thanks to everyone out there that listens to the show. Without you, we wouldn't have a show. But before I say goodbye, Kay, who got it right?
Just about everyone got it right. Well done. And we were looking for the band AC/DC, and we are going to play out with highway to hell, and just hopefully that isn't your journey on holiday. And Sai's also going to stick in a few of your other requests of AC/DC songs in the next couple of hours.
Up next is the greatest show on earth. Thanks to everybody, and whatever you do in December, do it well, have fun, and be safe. We'll chat to you again in January. Ciao.
Your home with BuildAid on Mix brings you all sorts of interesting info about building. Graham Alexander chats to different guests every Wednesday evening between 6 and 7. Proudly brought to you by AfriSam. AfriSam, creating concrete possibilities.